Why do pharmacies close for lunch? This tends to be a big question that we get asked a lot, and it's because most pharmacies operate with only one pharmacist, and the pharmacy can't remain open if there's only one pharmacist working. So, for example, today I'm working 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is an 11-hour shift, and my pharmacy closes from 1:30 to 2 for a lunch break. I did not get out of the pharmacy until 1:40, 3 minutes to my car, and then I give myself 3 minutes to get from my car back into the pharmacy so I can be there right at 2 when we open up. That means I'm getting about a 17-minute lunch break today. 11 hours and I'm getting a 17-minute lunch break. And most places close for lunch between noon and 1. So we actually don't do our lunch break when everybody else does, so that we're open so people who want to run errands and get their prescription on their lunch, they have that ability too. But pharmacies close for lunch so that the pharmacist can have a lunch, because everybody deserves to be able to eat.
What the hell is happening in pharmacy? Let's break it down. Walgreens is closing lots of stores and cutting jobs. Here's what that means for pharmacy careers. Walgreens is still restructuring. It's closing some of its stores and reducing staff in an effort to streamline operations and costs. For pharmacists and techs, this could mean fewer retail positions in those affected areas, potential reassignment, more shifts in the workload. Since Walgreens is shifting towards healthcare services, clinics, and pharmacy growth, some of those retail jobs are going to be cut out, but there may be more opportunity in clinical and consulting roles long term. So keep an eye on location, cross-train if possible, and consider expanding your skill set. Vaccines, immunizations, medication consults are all becoming even more valuable. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Download ShiftRx to find PRN shifts and your next pharmacy career. And as always, follow us for more pharmacy news.
Here's how to take magnesium the right way. I'm a pharmacist. I counsel patients on their supplements all the time. So if you're wondering if a magnesium supplement is actually worth your money, you're in the right place. Magnesium is one of the most important minerals in our entire body because it's involved in over 300 functions. Your muscles, your nerves, your brain, your heart, your mitochondria, it all needs magnesium. It helps you relax, it helps you sleep deeper, it supports healthy blood pressure, it can convert food into energy, it keeps your heartbeat steady, and even supports bone strength with calcium and vitamin D. But here's what most people don't know. There is not just one type of magnesium. Your body uses many different forms for all different jobs. So if you're taking just one type of magnesium, you're not getting all the benefits. That's why I always recommend a multi-complex magnesium supplement that has different forms, different functions, all in one supplement. You can take magnesium in the morning with food, but I do suggest taking it in the evening because sometimes people use it for sleep and relaxation, but do not take it with zinc, calcium, or iron supplements because those compete for absorption. So just separate them by at least 2 to 4 hours. If you have low magnesium, you might experience things like muscle cramps, headaches, anxiety, fatigue, irregular heartbeat, or even irregular bowel movements. So taking a great magnesium complex can help with all of that. If you want a really great recommendation for a magnesium supplement, it's the Toplex Magnesium. This is my favorite because this combines 8 different types of magnesium all in one supplement. It's lab tested, made in the US, so you can get all of the benefits. 2 capsules a day. This is a 45-day supply for an excellent price, and they use vegetarian capsules. If you want to try this, I'll link it right down there in the orange shopping cart. They have fast free shipping, but grab it quick because it's on an amazing sale right now, and when the price goes this low, they usually sell out. If you have any other questions about magnesium or how it can help, please leave them in the comments below.
The talent shortage in pharmaceuticals and life sciences has become so dangerously high that companies are resorting to hiring talent from big tech and finance. If you come from a medical background, you need to pay attention to this. The major shift that's happened in industry causing this is that money is no longer flowing towards companies that are developing a molecule. Instead, it's going to companies that are developing a process. And now these processes are fundamentally AI powered. Now, one of the biggest telltale signs that this is a structural shift is that there are massive layoffs in pharmaceuticals and life sciences, and these are impacting jobs like admin, clinical operations, and commercial. And this is to make way for the roles that they actually need. Now, you might ask, why don't these people that are being laid off pivot into the roles that are being created by just upskilling? The reality is that they're just leaving the industry altogether, and this paves the way for people who have a medical background to enter these roles. So let's use a real example. Cell and gene therapies is a developed technology. And in Boston, which is the world's densest life sciences cluster, the shortage of talent is 3-1. That means for every 3 available positions, there is only 1 candidate that can fill this. And the reason for that is because money is being poured into the AI manufacturing and processes space. And the people that understand medical and AI just don't exist. Now, for the past few years, they've been using engineers from big tech and quants from finance to handle the computational and AI side, and they've done a relatively good job so far. But now comes a point where there's a molecule interacting with a human being, and that's a no-no. Now, it's also really important to note that the amount of AI tools being developed so that they can be used in the pharma and life sciences sector is going through the roof. They just don't have the people to use them. Now, if Boston, which historically has had most of the talent in this space, is going through a shortage, believe me, the rest of the world is going through worse. So if you want to break into this role, DM me Shift and I'm going to get you started. Now, there are two things to take away from this story. Cell and gene therapies is just one example of many opportunities in the space. And the second thing is that this is about the flow and movement of money. When the money moves, you also have to move.
As your friendly neighborhood pharmacist, these are the common myths that I hear every single day. You went to college for 8 years to become a pharmacist. Does it bother you to just count pills? Truth be told, we're the most accessible healthcare practitioner out there. You come see me every single month. No appointment, no copay, we're free resources. Generic drugs are inferior to brand name medications. In reality, they cannot be a generic medication if they do not have the same active ingredient. Most of the time, they have a threshold that they have to meet to be classified as a generic medication, but they do work as well. If it's natural, it is safe. There's a common vitamin a lot of people use called St. John's wort that interferes with so many prescription medications. Also, melatonin, not my favorite supplement, could also affect some of your hormones. My favorite one, you only need a pharmacist when you're picking up medications. In reality, a lot of pharmacists, specifically like me, are trained in other areas. For example, I'm a certified sports nutritionist. Others have HRT optimization. Your pharmacist can be a long-term wellness expert just for you. Don't guess, just ask. Follow for more.
So, pharmacists are starting to speak up about what's actually happening behind that counter. And it's not really about the medications, it's about them. A recent industry survey found that 62% of pharmacy professionals are dealing with burnout right now. And more than 3 out of 4 of them say that burnout is directly contributing to understaffing at their own pharmacy. That's not a small workplace complaint. That's the majority of an entire profession telling you the same thing at once.
Mississippi saw its first independent pharmacy closure of 2026 when Baldwin L&L Pharmacy announced earlier today that they will be shutting their doors. Last year, during the legislative session, we pleaded with lawmakers to listen to what we were saying about how we were getting paid below cost claims, how PBMs were making it near impossible for us to keep our doors open. And over again, they continued to listen to out-of-state corporations and put the business interest of big employer groups over the interest of Mississippi patients, Mississippi small businesses like independent pharmacies. My heart breaks for this family. My heart breaks for the patients that they take care of. I think that lots of legislators thought that we were just making it up and that we weren't really hurting in the way that we said that we were. And it just kills me. We told them that this was going to happen, and it is. So maybe they'll get their act together. Maybe we can get something done in 2026. But pharmacy closures are real, and they've started in Mississippi for 2026.
I hate dealing with prescription insurance. Like, I'm about to lose my mind over the situation. Patient brings me a prescription. They were in the emergency department. They were injured. They have a very short supply of pain medication. I think it's hydrocodone. I'm not looking at it, so I can't exactly remember. Anyway, it's a pain medication. And the patient has state Medicaid. So I process the claim like I do all the time, and it says denied, drug-drug interaction. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I wonder what's the drug-drug interaction. So I look at her profile, and nothing is like pinging in my brain. So I use our built-in drug interaction check. No interactions. I'm like, okay. I then look up on facts and comparisons. I type everything in, look, no drug interactions. So I'm like, what? Okay. So then I pull up state Medicaid's like formulary on it, and I type in opioid. I go to the acute opioid formulary, and I'm like, okay, that's yes. Yeah, like she checks all the boxes. There's nothing that should be denying, but it is. So then I call Medicaid, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a drug-drug interaction. Okay, what's it interacting with? We can't tell you that. Okay, how can I get this patient her medication? They're like, oh, prior authorization. I'm like, it's an ER doctor. They're not going to want to do a prior authorization. And by the time the prior authorization is done, It's going to be 2 or 3 days. And they're like, yeah, it's a drug-drug interaction. Thanks.
Here are more changes to come to pharmacy in November 2026. It is now a legal requirement that your handwriting must be legible for your prescription to be valid. So I can now legally deny this prescription when it comes to my pharmacy. Prescribers can no longer self-prescribe S4Ds and S8s. Previously, it was more of a gray area and doctors can prescribe for themselves. However, now it is legally defined that you cannot do this. Here's an interesting one. If you have an animal with a Schedule A prescription and there's no identifying features of the owner, you have to use the animal's microchip number for drug keeping records. The laws around Webster packing, or DAAs, have become more stringent. You have to have the date of the Webster pack as well as all the labeling required for the medication. And this pertains to Appendix L of the poison standards. S4Ds are now valid for 12 months rather than 6 months. And if you've done an owing for a patient, you have to reconcile it within 14 days. Previously, if it was not reconciled within 7 days, you have to report the prescriber to New South Wales Health. Now it's 14 days. Which new change was most interesting for you? Let me know.
Here's what's actually driving it. A community pharmacist can face anywhere from 3 to 7 interruptions every single hour, sometimes closer to 6 on average. In the middle of counting pills, checking for dangerous drug interactions, or explaining dosing to a patient, they're being pulled into insurance rejections, prior authorizations, and phone calls, all while a line keeps building at the counter. Pharmacists describe it as constantly switching tasks with zero room to actually focus, and every switch costs time they don't have.
Hi, I'm Susie. I'm a pharmacist, and here are the questions to ask when you have a new prescription. Number one, I would say, what is the medication for? Why are you taking the medication? What are the potential side effects? You want to ask if you should take the medication with or without food for better absorption, because that makes a difference. What time of day you should take the medication? Are there any drug interactions with the medication? What else you should avoid? Any foods that you should avoid? Any drinks you should avoid? That might also help. Those are all questions you should ask about a new prescription.
Don't shoot the messenger, but did you know that if your medical insurance denies a claim, you can get a peer-to-peer review, and 9 times out of 10, that doctor that's reviewing your case could have a totally different specialty than with a doctor that wants you to take the medication that they're trying to give you. For example, a pediatrician who's the medical director at the insurance company could be denying you something that your oncologist tried to prescribe for you. A pediatrician versus an oncologist, not exactly thinking the same way. You can ask for that specialty to be the same, that peer-to-peer to be the same specialty as the doctor trying to prescribe your medication. Hit that follow button, save this, and send it to someone who's struggled with insurance. Everything is in my insurance denial playbook. Every secret, every method, every script, every pre-written template is in there when you need it. Check it out. It's at plaintalkhealth.org.
Some of the other services we offer that I think are underutilized by patients is medication therapy management. So we'll tell our patients, hey, if you're, coming from a big chain, when you come, bring all your medications. We'll have you sit down with the pharmacist and go over what you're taking. And, through that, we've discovered patients, taking duplicates of certain medications, like 2 blood pressure medications that you don't necessarily need to be on. Some of the other services we offer are compliance packaging for older adults. So
What is that?
it is, I should have brought one with me, but let's say someone's taking 20 different medications,
Yeah.
right? Which is not unheard of. We do
Mhm.
have patients taking that many meds, but it can get really confusing.
Yeah, because they react with each other, and
And
a lot of
then,
them do the same thing.
yeah, and then just remembering to take them. I'm supposed to take 3 in the morning and then 5 different medications at lunch, 4 different medications at night. Oh my, you're asking 85-year-old
That's my grandma.
to remember that,
Yeah.
right? And so what we do is we have compliance cards that come each week is 1 card, and it's labeled morning, noon, afternoon, evening, morning, noon, evening, bedtime. And we'll put whatever meds you're supposed to take in the morning in that one little package.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so all they need to do is punch it out and take it. And so
That's
it makes it easier for the patient.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of success for patients that have trouble forgetting to take their meds with that system.
Yeah. Or it's just so complicated. It's like a game of Tetris. It's like with my grandma, it's like she takes her first pills at 9:30 in the morning because they have to be taken on an empty stomach. But then she also has morning pills that have to be taken with food. And then so it's like
Yeah.
it's really like this crazy like puzzle that you have to put together.
A big piece of why staffing is this thin comes down to money, and specifically who controls it. Pharmacy benefit managers, the companies that sit between insurers and pharmacies, have been squeezing reimbursement rates lower and lower for years now. Pharmacies get paid less and less for filling the exact same prescription, while the benefit managers themselves keep the difference for their own profit. That's been openly called a race to the bottom by people inside the industry, and it's a direct part of why independent pharmacies have been closing their doors across the country, and why even the big national chains have been cutting hours and staff to try and protect their own margins in the process. When you put chronic understaffing next to a shrinking reimbursement model like that, the result isn't just tired employees clocking out late. It becomes a genuine safety concern for the people picking up their medication. Pharmacists have openly described working in real fear of making a mistake that harms a patient, simply because they're rushed, understaffed, and being asked to do more with less every single shift they work. This isn't some new complaint that popped up overnight either. Pharmacist walkouts over exactly these conditions have already happened at several major chains in recent years, with pharmacists and technicians organizing specifically around patient safety, not just their own working conditions. Workload consistently comes back as the #1 driver pharmacists point to when asked what's actually causing the burnout, followed closely by unreasonable performance metrics and a lack of real work-life balance. Reduced staffing then feeds right back into more burnout for whoever's left on the floor, which pushes even more pharmacists toward leaving the profession entirely or switching into a different career path where the pressure isn't quite this constant. I don't think this means you can't trust your local pharmacy. I think it means the person behind that counter might be doing the job of 2 or 3 people, getting interrupted every 10 minutes, and still trying to catch every dangerous interaction before it reaches you, with a system built around them that keeps giving them less to work with every year. So tell me, have you noticed your local pharmacy feeling more rushed or understaffed lately? Or has your experience actually stayed the same? Let me know down in the comments. I think a lot of people don't realize what's happening on the other side of that counter. And if this is the kind of thing you want to stay ahead of, that's exactly what we cover here at Cost Crisis. So stick around and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.